Right into line. Hold.
Present all!
Thank you all for coming. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Vincent Carney. My father was one of the strongest men that I've ever known and had a sense of duty unlike anything I've ever seen. As many of you know, for the past 6 years, he's been fighting a battle with cancer from 9/11, and I think that his actions on that day and the weeks that followed showed the kind of man he was. When the nation was struck by terror, grief, and confusion, there was a question, whom shall I send? And my father answered, here am I, send me. I wasn't there when he was a child, but I've heard plenty of stories. Some of you here probably have one that just came to mind, and I know he was alive. My dad attended 2 high schools in his youth, and one of them is not welcome back yet. As a young man who loved the outdoors and wildlife, going to the aquarium with his dad, fishing, and making Mount Marcy with his brothers. As an adult, he was no different, except this time he would take my mother, my brother, and me along with him. In fact, he always kept fishing poles in the car just in case he found a body of water on a free 15 minutes. For his first job, he found himself working as a corrections officer, and later, he would find his career in the Nypd, which is not an easy job. Despite the challenges he faced as a police officer, he always stayed the course. And during being shot at, the events of 9/11, and the general stress of his career, he refused to be broken. I would like to think that in raising me and my brother, he imparted some of his unshakable will onto us. As much stress as the work gave him, it also gave him his wife. He met my mom working in the 7-5 precinct in 1997. Very fortunately for me, they fell in love, and in 1999 they were married. They definitely had their fair share of adventures together, one of which being their honeymoon in Costa Rica, where they chose to overlook some very lax safety standards, like all young people do. They bought a house together, had dogs, cats, frogs, geckos, turtles, fish, and on top of all that, managed to have 2 sons as well. They were an unstoppable team, finding ways to take care of my brother and I, working long hours, providing us with a life we're very lucky to have. In all marriages, my parents had their ups and downs, but they loved each other very much. And at the end, it was clear to me that their love was the kind that only comes once in a lifetime. My father was firm and almost unbearingly honest, but he was always fair. And I won't say he was the easiest man to get along with, but he was the only father I would ever want, and I know I owe him a great deal. I remember my brother and I were always required to be with him during any projects or work around the house. And to a kid, this was the worst thing I could imagine, but as I drywall, which is a riveting subject, I know, but I expected to be an assistant as I was many times before. Instead, he turned to me and said, "What are you doing?" And as I got older, that would happen more and more. And I know now that my whole life he was preparing me and my brother to be the type of men he'd be proud to leave behind. My father wasn't always all work, though. I have vague memories of our trips to Disney World when I was very young. We had our family vacation to Jamaica, and a truly innumerable amount of camping trips. When we were young, he would take us fishing across the street, or we'd make a fire in the backyard, or if we were especially lucky, he would take us to work with him so we could see the horses. And if you knew my father, you know that he loved those horses. It's rare in life for someone to find their true calling, but I know my dad did. Maybe it was odd that a boy from Queens was born to work with horses, but he truly was. And although he was relieved to retire, he was always going to miss that job. Another thing about my dad was his unique sense of humor, which was an acquired taste. And he had this really special way of making a joke that felt like it should have been an insult, but for some reason it just didn't feel that way. Everyone here knows exactly what I mean. He was also extremely loyal to his friends and his family, and would never go behind someone's back, which again, maybe he was honest to a fault. That was him. As I'm sure you all know, it was his loyalty that made him such a great friend to have, even if he could be a little reclusive at times. And no, I don't have to tell any of you this, but my dad did have a lot of love in his heart for all of his friends and family. Maybe he wasn't the best at showing it, but he did. And I think he would want us to remember that he was not only strong, brave, and courageous, but that he was also caring and wanted the best for people. He always tried his hardest to be involved in the community and to find some time away from the long hours of work. When he lived in Queens, he was an active member of the Knights of Columbus, and through late, he joined my Boy Scout troop as an assistant scout officer. I made a lot of memories with him on the different trips we took to the Adirondacks, and we were upstate cross-country ski, and I'm forever grateful to take that time to be with me and my brother and help us grow. When my father was 19, he and his friends married, took a road trip out west to be free and young, and admittedly probably a little stupid. If you had a few drinks in him, he would often talk about how incredible the trip was. When he was out there, he began keeping a journal which he titled Living the Legend. Now, he didn't write much in that book and never finished it either, but that's because he never stopped. He kept living his own legend right up until the day he died. And if you were here today, I think you'd agree with me. We love you, Dad.
Oh! Order! Oh!
Anyone wishing to go to the cemetery should go to their cars now. Anyone going to the cemetery should go to their cars now.